Welcome to Storied Audio. He noticed her before he even sat down. The restaurant was warm, golden, buzzing with quiet conversations and clinking glasses, but she looked like she was living in a different world entirely. A world where everything had gone wrong at once. She sat at a small table near the window, hands folded tightly in her lap, eyes fixed on the empty chair across from her. Her makeup was perfect, her hair carefully done, her dress chosen with hope. But her expression, it was the kind of heartbreak people try to hide but can't. He didn't mean to stare. He just recognized the look. He'd worn it himself once. He took his seat 2 tables away, but his eyes kept drifting back to her. The way she checked her phone, the way she tried to smile at the waiter, the way she blinked too fast, fighting tears she didn't want anyone to see. When she finally exhaled shakily and whispered, "He's not coming," to no one in particular, something inside him cracked. He stood before he could talk himself out of it. "Hi," he said gently, stopping beside her table. "I'm sorry to bother you, but you look like you could use some company." She startled, wiping quickly at her eyes. "Oh no, I'm fine. Really. Her voice broke. She looked down. "I'm just having a lonely night." He nodded. "I've had some of those." She gave a small embarrassed laugh. "My date didn't show up." "I figured," he said softly. "No one should sit alone on a night like this. Would you like to join me? No pressure. Just 2 strangers sharing a table." She hesitated. He could see the war inside her. Pride, hurt, fear of looking foolish. But then she looked at the empty chair again and something in her wilted. "Okay," she whispered. "Yeah. I'd like that." He led her to his table, pulling out the chair for her. She sat slowly as if unsure she deserved kindness. "I'm David," he said. "Connie." They ordered drinks. She wrapped her hands around her glass like it was something to hold her together. "I'm sorry," she said suddenly. "You probably had plans. I don't want to ruin your night." "You're not," he said. "Honestly, I'm glad you said yes." She studied him, trying to understand why a stranger would care. "Why did you come over?" He took a breath. "Because I know what it feels like to wait for someone who isn't coming." Her eyes softened. "Someone stood you up?" "Not exactly," he said. "I waited for someone to change their mind. They never did." She nodded slowly, understanding more than he expected. They talked, first awkwardly, then with surprising ease. She told him about her job, her love of old movies, her fear that she wasn't good enough for anyone. He told her about his sister's kids, his failed engagement, the way he'd been rebuilding his life piece by piece. At one point she laughed. A real laugh, and he felt something warm bloom in his chest. But then her phone buzzed. She froze. He watched her face fall as she read the message. "Is it him?" David asked quietly. She nodded. "He said he lost track of time. And that he can still come if I'm here." David swallowed. "Do you want him too?" She stared at the message, her fingers trembling. "I don't know. Thought I did. I spent all week excited about tonight. But now," she looked up at David. "I feel stupid." "You're not stupid," he said firmly. "Someone else's carelessness doesn't define your worth." Her eyes filled again, but this time not with the same kind of pain. "Why are you being so kind to me?" she whispered. "Because someone should be." She looked down at her phone again. "He's asking if he should come." David's heart tightened. He didn't want her to go. He didn't want this moment to end. But he also knew this wasn't about him. "It's your choice," he said softly. "But, if you want my honest opinion?" She nodded. "You deserve someone who shows up the first time." Her breath caught. She stared at him for a long moment, long enough for him to see the shift happening inside her. The realization. The clarity. Then she typed something quickly and set her phone face down. "What did you say?" he asked. "That I'm not here anymore." A slow smile spread across his face. "Good." They talked for another hour. The restaurant emptied around them. The candles burned low. The world outside the window grew dark and quiet. At one point she reached across the table almost without thinking and touched his hand. "Thank you," she said. "For seeing me. For rescuing me from a night I thought would break me." He turned his hand over, letting their fingers brush. "You rescued me too." She tilted her head. "From what?" "From eating alone again," he said with a small smile. "From thinking nights like this were behind me." Her cheeks warmed. David, this feels strange. I don't usually open up like this. Me neither. But it feels, she searched for the word. Safe. He nodded. It does. When the waiter brought the check, David reached for it, but Connie stopped him. Let me split it, she said. You don't have to. I know, she said softly. But I want to. I want this to be ours. He let her. Outside the night air was cool. She hugged her arms around herself and without thinking he shrugged off his jacket and draped it over her shoulders. She looked up at him, eyes shining. You didn't have to do that. I know, he said. But I wanted to. They stood there, neither moving, neither wanting to say goodbye. David, she whispered, can I see you again? He smiled. A real, unguarded smile. I was hoping you'd ask. She stepped closer, close enough that he could feel her breath. Tonight started as one of the worst nights of my life, she said. But you changed it. You changed mine too, he said. She reached up, touching his cheek gently. I'm really glad you came over. So am I. They didn't kiss, not yet. It wasn't the right moment. Instead he took her hand and she let him. Two strangers who weren't strangers anymore. Two people who showed up for each other when it mattered. And as they walked into the night together, Connie whispered something he would remember for the rest of his life. Thank you for choosing me before you even knew me. Subscribe to the channel for more audio stories.